Start the recording and we'll begin the program. It's good to see you all this rainy Thursday afternoon. Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. And get into it's an ongoing series, Meet This Public Servant. And this time we don't have a government official, but we have someone from the nonprofit world. And I want to welcome Delia, Yarrow, Director of Home Ownership at INHS. So, Delia, welcome and take over.
All right, great. Well, hi, everybody. So my name is Delia Yarrow, as Zach said, and I've been at INHS, I think, since 2013. So a little time now. Before I was at INHS, I was an Ithaca kid, grew up on Hancock Street downtown, went to BJM, didn't go to GIAC because my mom was home after school. So, so I wasn't a GIAC kid, but I was a BJM kid. And as you can tell from the gray hairs before it was even BJM. And then I left and worked in New York for 13 years in the city doing affordable housing stuff. So when I came back, I was happy to be hired by INHS, kind of continue the similar work that I've been doing there. So that's me. And then wanted to tell everybody some of the stuff that INHS is up to. I probably won't do justice to every piece of what the organization does because I've only got my handle around a little piece of what we're doing. But for those of you that aren't familiar with us, we're a nonprofit organization. We serve Tompkins County and all of the counties surrounding Tompkins County. And we do a bunch of different things. So we have rental housing, including two senior housing properties, one in Ovid and one in Newfield. And then we have the apartments, which if you kind of look out for the signs, you'll see are all over downtown. Some of them are bigger apartments, like for the old timers, the old PNC site is now an INHS apartment building. The one on the same block as GIAC, where Immaculate Conception, we're building apartments there, and for sale housing, and Catholic Charities is staying where they are. There's going to be a couple of other nonprofits in the basement of one of those buildings. So that's a major development. I have no responsibility for that, so I can't claim credit, but I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be 75 units and it's been going along. I drop my kid off at school every day, so I kind of keep my eyes on it and it's been going up pretty quick. I'm very excited. You know, we need more housing in downtown Ithaca, so I'm very excited that that's happening. The big projects that we're planning to do, one has been just a schlag of a project in Trumansburg that hopefully we'll get funding for sometime in 2022. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that one. And then we're working on some other projects that are outside of Ithaca in surrounding counties. So we'll see if those ones are kind of in the earlier stages. Not sure what's going to happen with those. So that's the rental side of things. Does anybody have questions about that piece of stuff? And if not, I'll move on to the things I'm more familiar with.
Would you talk about the Catholic Charities property a little bit?
Yeah, so
there's multi-housing and also some individual homes.
Yeah, there's going to be that home on the corner of Plain and Buffalo is going to be a rental home, and then there will be 4 townhomes that we're going to sell to low-income home buyers, so first-time home buyers. And then there will be a total of, I believe, don't quote me on this, this is where it's not my part of the world, so the numbers aren't all in my head, but I believe it's 75 rental units total. And then spaces for 2 nonprofits to have office space in the basement of one of the buildings. And then GIAC is actually going to have use of the gym that was Immaculate Conception's gym. So that's part of the whole deal that we worked out to try to make that parcel as well used as possible to serve the community's needs. So that's how that's everything that I can remember that we're doing on that site. Yeah.
Let me add one caveat to that regarding the gym. Since some of you are City of Ithaca School District area voters, that there's a strip of land that GIAC or the city and GIAC need to obtain to renovate the gym. If we don't get it, and it's up for a vote on the next election, I think it's coming up next month.
I
Yeah.
think it's
So if in order to do that project and for GIAC to get the gym and do the renovations we need to have title to that little strip of land, and we need people to vote for the proposition to allow that. So keep that in mind and watch for that proposition on the next election. I'm sure I'll be sharing more about it as it comes up in my social media and emails. Just to,
What's the number?
I don't know, but I'll be able to share that as it comes. But that's an important thing that has to happen before we can make the gym usable for us. Sorry about that. Thanks.
Oh, no, great. You've got my vote. I religiously vote. So I will definitely pay attention.
Joanne, you have a question?
Yes, I looked on the INHS website to try to find out things like, such as in the Founder's Way project, what, exactly how many apartments, exactly, what the sizes are. And I realized that rental prices are going to vary, but I've had trouble finding that information. And I'm actually, right now, I'm on the Founder's Way web, the section in INHS, and I just don't know how to find that information.
Well, if it's not on there, I can definitely email details to Zach. I haven't gone on to look there. I'm only ever sending people information about repairs and how to buy a house. So I haven't looked into the details. I can't guide you on that. But we will get you details, no problem. If I can't find it on our website, then Lynn Truaim is the person who is making sure that that project moves forward. So I'll get details from her for sure.
I was also looking for, sorry about the dog.
Oh, no problem.
What's the one? I always forget the name of it. Breckenridge.
Yeah.
Again, I've had difficulty actually getting, precise details. So what do you have to do to find that information? Call INHS?
Yeah, you can call. We have Jaleesa answers the phone at the front desk, and she would be able to connect you with the property manager for that site.
Okay.
Yeah. Breckenridge that's the corner for folks who don't know the name. That's the building that's on the corner across from DeWitt Mall and catty corner from, what is the name of that building?
Across from Clinton House, right?
Yeah, across from Clinton House.
It used to be it used to house the women's center.
Yeah, which had my favorite thrift store ever.
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, that one's 1 and 2 bedrooms, and I cannot remember the number because that was a long time ago. But there's a, you know, the way it works with our rental properties is the funding, the funder requirements are that there are certain apartments that are set aside for people in pretty narrow income bands. So there isn't one rent, and it will depend on your exact income, what you pay in rent. So there is a complicated calculation that the folks in the property management department have to do to figure out, hey, do we have a unit for you? So the kind of overall advice is, if you know somebody or you yourself need an affordable apartment, go ahead and put in the application. The application's pretty cheap. Or sorry, it's free to do and pretty easy. It's like 2 pages, and we need a social security card and a form of photo ID, and that's it. That's all you need to do to get on the wait list. And then once we've found an apartment that might fit, then we get income documentation and all the kind of things that are more of a headache.
So there's one application form.
Yeah.
And I guess the difficulty I'm having is that when I try to look at these places, I can't find that information, like what is the income range that's allowed.
So
So
it's,
that you have to do a general one and
yeah,
then talk to someone. So even if you don't know if you're eligible, you have to apply.
exactly. And then we can take a look at the details, and they will say, okay, are there any apartments that might fit your needs? So it's not something you can game out without applying. You just go ahead and apply. And it's, again, 2 pages of a document. It's not that bad in terms of paperwork. There's a separate application for the properties that we have outside of Ithaca. So there's one in Seneca County, one in Schuyler County. And then the senior housing properties have a slightly different application, but the one for the Ithaca apartments, which would include Breckenridge and Founders Way, I will just put in the chat right now. And you can just go to, hey, I want to rent with INHS, and you'll find that application right there. And you can say, I'm interested in any apartment, or you can say, I'm only interested in a particular apartment, like Breckenridge. So that's the rental side of things. Any other questions about that? Hearing nothing, I'll move on to the stuff that I know a little bit more about. One other thing to mention that's sort of an outlier from what INHS has done in the past is this last year we bought a manufactured home community in Trumansburg. The community, if you are familiar with it, used to be called Aubles. It's just right north of the village of Trumansburg. And we've renamed it Compass. And that, what we're working on right now is getting funding from New York State to improve the water, sewer, electrical, and replace some of the rental units on that property. So that we haven't started work on that, but that's a project we have in place, and we're pretty excited about being able to do that, because right now the conditions in terms of the road and the sewer and stuff for folks are pretty rough. So we're happy to be working on that. There are actually 44 manufactured home communities in Ithaca. There are a lot. And I definitely talk to people every day who are in situations where, you know, having some improvement to their property would be super helpful. So INHS is not obviously angling to own all 44 of them by any means, but we're happy to at least be able to do one small bit in one place in Tompkins County. And then I'll talk about my piece of what we do. So I help people figure out if they're first-time home buyers, figure out, are you ready to buy a house? And their best strategy for getting ready to have a mortgage. What does it look like if they buy in this place versus that place? That is the counseling, we call it counseling, but it's really kind of like a strategy appointment. And we help people take a look at their credit and their debts and, you know, all of the things that a first mortgage lender might care about and figure out, you know, is this a good thing? Or is this like what their next steps are, basically. So that's the home buyer piece of things. We also have classes that are on Zoom like this. Sometimes, or we're actually trying this month to go back to those in-person classes. I don't teach those. My coworker Anne does. She's super energetic, and she makes the things like mortgage qualifying and working with realtors fun. I read all the evaluations from her classes and they're really very positive. So if you have somebody, again, or if you're in the position where you're trying to figure out mortgages and buying a house, Anne is a wonderful place to start. So that's the purchase side of things. We also have funding to help folks who fit the definition of low income. So in Tompkins County, that's below $50,000 for a single person, and it goes up a little bit from there. Purchase homes with down payment assistance. So we don't have enough money to help people with the whole amount of a house, but we can help with up to $20,000 in a loan. So folks can buy with a little bit less cash out of their pocket. And that's basically the sort of the side for home buyers. And then for people who own their own homes, we can help with repair funding as we get money in. So we definitely have wait lists for those programs. I'm gonna put the application link on to those in the chat too. So if you own a home and you know you need some major things, we can't, generally speaking, do kitchen cabinets or like refinish floors. Really, we're looking at health and safety improvements that the funders allow us to do. So it's more, you know, roofs, some improvement with drainage, some heating systems, that kind of work that sometimes we can do. And again, the application to just get on the wait list is 2 pages, super easy to do. And then we take people off that wait list depending on what each funder requires in terms of what geographic area are we serving, what type of house can we help with. Sometimes we can not help with manufactured housing, sometimes we can. So it really depends on the funding source, what we're allowed to do. So those programs we call to major repair. Oh, and accessibility modifications. That's another major thing we help with. So if don't have any of that funding right now, we spent that down, but we always apply for that. That helps us do ramps and, you know, ADA compliant showers, sinks, that kind of stuff as people need them as they're aging, so folks can stay in their homes. So that's the major repair piece of things. And then we have another program that we call minor repair that helps homeowners throughout Tompkins County with little things that like a handy person would do. And we do a health and safety check. So we make sure the doors are locking in somebody's house. We make sure their smoke and CO detectors are there. We kind of take a look at the overall condition of the house. Sometimes we say, hey, you've got a problem here. We recommend you fill out an application to get funding for that or take a look at this issue. So we do an overall, like, just look at the house, and then depending on what folks are interested in having done, we will do a lot of rigid dryer vents, which sounds like a very random thing to repair, but it's the dryer vent that was in my house when I bought it and is in most houses is that one that kind of looks like it's just tinfoil and it's all scrunchy. And that one traps lint. And I actually had a coworker whose entire house burned down on West Hill because of the lint in the dryer vent catching fire. So that is one thing that we definitely take health and safety seriously. We do see a lot of pictures of before dryer vents and then after dryer vents that are smooth and clean and will not cause a fire. So that's a fun thing that we get to do under that program. We repair steps and handrails and stuff to just make it a little bit more comfortable. We can't do major things like a roof with that funding, or if your floor is rotting because of a leak that's been there. You know, there are things that our staff just aren't able to handle, but we can do a bunch of things with that funding. And that is one of my favorite programs because the paperwork is pretty minimal and it doesn't cost anything to the homeowner. And we just come out and we figure out what needs to be done. We buy the materials, no cost to whoever we're helping, and go ahead and install it. And so it's just, you know, you don't have to worry, is this going to get done correctly? Or is this person going to walk out with the job halfway through? We're definitely going to finish whatever we start with that funding. So that is the other piece of what we're able to help people with in terms of homeowners. Any questions about those programs?
Hi, I bought my house with an INHS loan a very long time ago, maybe about 30 some years. And so I'm interested in the minor repair program. Like how would you qualify for that? Because I kind of like need to install some handrails on my front porch, you know.
That
It
is
has one step.
That is exactly what we do. Yeah, I'll put a link to the little application
Mhm.
in this chat, and then you can apply it. And we are down a staff person right now, so we have a little backup, but we are doing our best to get caught up with folks.
Mhm.
So hold on. Here it is. The
Okay.
certificate INHS/small repairs. You'll see there's a little application. If you're not the kind of person who likes the internet and you want me to mail you an application with like a stamped return envelope, I can totally do that. I'll give everybody my email and you can send that to me, and my phone number. You can call me if that's better.
I have it. Yeah. Okay. I can get it. I can download it. The reason why I asked who qualifies, because maybe about 2 years ago, something like that, I called and I was informed that I had to be really old and feeble in order to get any repair done, and that there was a huge waiting list. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Fill out the application. We try to get to people the best we can, is what
I mean,
do.
I'm retired and everything, but I'm not, you know, feeble, you know.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, you don't have to be frail. There are some of our funding sources. It just sort of depends on what we have available. So it might have been that you hit a time where we were, you know, that was the focus of what we could do. But right now we have funding for both materials and staff time that are pretty flexible. So we can, in the city of Ithaca, and probably for the next couple of months outside of Ithaca, we can actually serve people who are under 60 years old. 60 is the kind of magic cutoff for funding most of the time, but right now we have funding to help people. We focus, if in the case that folks are under 60, we focus on people who are single parents or who are disabled in some way. But other than that, you know, yeah, so over 60 or under 60 with something going on, then we can definitely put you on the list and we'll get to you for sure. And that sounds like exactly the kind of thing we do.
thank you.
Yeah. So the number I put in that check, that 607, for those of you who aren't looking at your computer screen, that 607-288-3229, that's my work cell. And I basically pick that up unless I'm in a meeting. So there are days where you may not get me because I have back-to-back meetings, but whenever I can, I pick it up and I definitely answer those messages. So if you have a question that you're not comfortable asking in front of other folks, you can just take that number down and give me a call and I'll do my best to answer it. And oh, I guess I didn't mention for the small repairs, there definitely is an income limit. So there may be moments where, like right now, we're prioritizing people that kind of are below our income limit. And there are some people that are on hold until we get through to the folks that are going to have a harder time making payments, but we can refer you to a handy person if you're over that income limit. So, and COFA, actually, the Tompkins County Office for the Aging, is who we usually send people to if we don't have staff power to do things immediately and they can make a payment. COFA has a list of handy persons, and I can give folks their number too. Does anybody else have questions? Right. Oops. Hi, Zach. I see you talking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay. It's not really, it's just something that popped in my head. It's not these grants. But in the past, there's a organization, Better Housing of Tompkins County. Has that been rolled into one with INHS, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah. In 2014, I think we had an affiliation. So our staffs function as one staff and we run programs kind of as one program. Sometimes funding comes into one side or the other, but publicly we call ourselves INHS. Every once in a while we'll like have one small pot of money out of Better Housing. And so you'll see a loan where all of the documents say Better Housing on it, but generally speaking, publicly, we're just known as INHS, but some of the staff that worked at Better Housing are, still working with me today, which is so cool. So yeah, it is made it less complicated, I think, for people to get help because there's not multiple different programs. There's just sort of, if you want to buy a house, we can help with that. If you need repairs, we can help with that. And you don't have to be on as many wait lists or as many things. We try to, the funding we get is always pretty painful to deal with because it's governmental funding. So there's so many requirements to it, but we try to keep those headaches to ourselves and just make what we can and can't do kind of clear, and we work that way. So yeah, Better Housing exists, but it's not really a place that you would, if you called, somebody would say, hi, this is INHS.
That's why you are active outside of the city and neighboring counties. You sort of, your reach is expanded.
Yeah. On the homeownership side, it's really because prices in the city have gone up. Then Zach and I were chatting about this to the point where it's very hard for us to help somebody buy if it's not a house that we built inside the city. It's just a couple times a year we're able to help people, and that's a shift since I started. When I started, we were helping people very regularly purchase in the city, and now with the prices up $350,000 or whatever, it just for the incomes of folks that we can help to buy, very rarely can we help people buy in the city. And so we kind of looked at well, people still want to own a home. What are other ways to make that happen? And so it seemed like, if you buy a house in Elmira or Tioga County, it's still, much more affordable. So we build houses in Ithaca whenever we can, because we know there's a lot of folks who would prefer to live here because they want their kids in the schools or because they're working here and they don't want the long commute, but it's costs a lot of money for us to build houses. So we're just trying to give people options, because we also know there are folks who would never want to live in the city of Ithaca, definitely want to be in the country and don't want any neighbors. And so we just want to give everybody as many options as they can. So that's how our geographic scope increased. Yeah.
It seemed like early on, the concentration of INHS, I mean, I guess it's kind of before my time in Ithaca, so I'm not positive this is true, but it's my impression that it sort of concentrated on finding old, dilapidated, single family detached dwellings and rehabbing them, and then, having
Yeah.
improving the rental stock for families downtown. Is that something that you've been doing projects that are building larger units or bigger buildings with more units? Are you continuing to look for that type of property?
Yeah, we have done 2 of those, 3 of those, maybe in the last 2 years. The market is crazy enough that, even if somebody's house is in really bad shape, they can usually sell it for a decent amount of money. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to get a house that needs work and then put money into it. On occasion, something happens where we can do that. And so, yeah, we've done a couple of those. I think the name of that program when we started was called House Recycling. So we still do that. Yeah. And there's actually one coming up on Auburn Street that we will be selling sometime in the next couple of months or so. I never take a bet on when we're actually going to put something on the market anymore, because I've worked at INHS long enough to know that there are curveballs that occur right before we think we're ready. So, yeah. And there's one that's under contract now in West Hill, on Westfield Place, which is the little street at the top of Sunset. And that's a house that we did a major renovation of in 2009, sold to homeowners, and then we bought it back from them recently. And we're working on the basement, it was in good condition still, but we're doing some repair work and selling that. So yeah, that happens. As much as we can make that happen, it happens. The cost of repairs are bananas. So it's hard to get enough money to be able to make it work that we can bring the price down after we bring the house up to a decent quality enough for folks to buy. So there's definitely been a bunch of scenarios where we've looked at houses to see if we can make it work, and we're like, oh my gosh, we can't do that. So that's getting harder. Yeah.
I have a question about, I don't know whether or not, I guess my question is whether or not INHS gets involved at all with other agencies that are in other city or town or county agencies that are involved with real estate. And what I'm thinking of is recently new assessments went out, and I was stunned at how much my assessment went up, especially since my house needs a gazillion repairs. And the problem with that is that, I mean, I know other seniors too who are in houses that they own or at least have mortgages on. And of course, every time the assessment goes up, your taxes go up.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if INHS gets involved at all with
So we don't have any sway with the assessment department. There is a grievance procedure, which maybe you're
Yeah.
familiar with.
Yeah. very.
And yeah, so that's what I would recommend, is trying to grieve if your taxes jumped. It's hard because their legal requirement is to base it on the market, and the market values of properties really are skyrocketing. So I don't.
No, what I mean is, like, I don't mean that INHS would get involved in individual cases. I'm wondering,
Oh.
like, do you lobby at all for instance, exactly that? Why
Oh,
are assessments done on the basis of market as opposed to the actual condition of the house? Does INHS get involved in any kind of politics like that?
we are not allowed to lobby as a
Okay.
nonprofit.
Okay.
So, no. But what we do is try to keep people, we'll give people solid information about the individual circumstances in terms of like, how do you grieve, what tax exemptions might be available to folks as senior citizens or veterans or whatever. We are happy to connect people with information. My experience with the staff at the assessment department is that they're very approachable. So the whole problem is a huge problem, I think, and like affordability over time for people, but the individual staff in the assessor's office are very approachable. We did actually an event for that manufactured home community. People who live in manufactured home communities and own their properties are able to qualify for the same tax exemptions as anybody who owns their home. But in the one we bought, the owner was not passing that benefit through to the residents the way he should have been. And so folks stopped applying because they were like, why am I going to put money in his pocket? And so when we bought it, we said, we're going to do this correctly. And so we tried to get people to register for those exemptions. So I sat in an office in the Trumansburg Fire Department on a cold and blustery day, and we registered folks for the senior tax exemptions and the disability and veterans exemptions. So those are things that are out there. And I would say calling assessment is kind of, if you don't know if you have a particular benefit, or you're kind of wondering if you might be in your income range, they're very knowledgeable and helpful. And you can go down there right above the Board of Elections, and they will like copy paperwork. They're, the staff there again is like pretty great to work with. For if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I have any exemptions or if I could qualify for more, it's worth a phone call to them. Yeah, it's rough. The rise in prices is only good if you're selling your home and you're not buying another home, which is a very small subset of the population, right? For everybody else, it's a little rough. So, yeah.
That might. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That might be a good guess for the future. From Tom.
Yeah, there's a woman named Tammy who Tammy and Irene are the ones that I've connected with most about senior tax exemptions, and they're really great.
You don't have to be promised to be nice to them, though. Remember, they're the practitioners. They're not the people that make the rules.
Yeah, it's not their fault what's happening to the market. Sure, certainly, yeah, but they try to do what they can. And they were out with me on this Saturday, like making sure that the forms were properly done so people could get what they're required to do, so that's good.
Nicolina, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a question going back to something that Delia said, that you had purchased, INHS had purchased manufactured homes in Trumansburg.
Mhm.
But I am wondering, are manufactured homes allowed in the city of Ithaca?
Yeah, the Nate's Florals Estates behind Wegmans is a manufactured home community that's actually
Mhm.
a senior community. So yeah, I don't think, like, if you owned a lot, I don't know what the zoning is for putting a new house, but I do know that there are, and there's actually another manufactured home community on Spencer Road, kind of way down at the
Mhm.
end, that's within the city limits.
When you're in a manufactured home scenario, like you had mentioned Nate's, do they own the lot or how does that work?
No, so what happens in a manufactured home community is that people are paying a monthly lot rent to
Mhm.
the owner, and the ownership of the actual house itself depends. So sometimes people are renting the house and paying lot rent, kind of one total rent, and sometimes they own their house and they're just paying lot rent monthly. So that varies depending on the particular situation.
And is that more inexpensive than actually renting an apartment here or?
It can be if you own your home outright. But it depends on the individual community, how much lot rent is actually often surprisingly quite a bit of money, considering, you know, you're getting a hookup for electric and water and sewer, but yeah, lot rent is not that cheap. So yeah, it's not, if you own your home outright, it is cheaper form of ownership than owning like a regular stick-built house, I would say, overall. But it's not always quite the savings that you might imagine. The way that folks finance buying a property, if it's, you know, if they can't afford to buy it in cash, usually those loans have pretty high interest rates. So if you're paying on a loan at 7%, your overall payment, including lot rent, can be really quite a bit of money. So it just depends on the scenario, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions for me?
Were you intentionally unmuting there, Joanne?
No.
It looked like you might be ready to say something, but okay. All right, well.
Yeah, I would just say in closing, if you have any questions, you've got my phone number, and we'll try to find out an answer for you. If it's not something we know, we're here at least trying to help. And sometimes we have to say, hey, you're going to have to call another place in order for you to get assistance, or we don't know of anybody who's able to help with that, but we work really hard at knowing who's doing what in Tompkins and the surrounding counties and being able to connect folks with the resources they need. So we're definitely 211 and INHS are good places to ask questions.
Well, I appreciate your time. It's great to hear about the your area of specialty, and also all about INHS, and it seems like it's so much going on in town that you all are involved with. So it's appreciated to have the update.
Yeah, we know the need is there. We know there are so many people who are, you know, really needing good, safe, affordable housing. And so the more that whatever we can figure out to do, we do it, right?
Cool.
That's that.
Well, it's
But
nice to
not
see
Thank
you
you for
all.
talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And any questions that come to you, I can help to connect you to Delia. I guess we'll call that a meeting. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you all.
You too.
Nice. Yeah.